Hello and welcome everyone. I see a handful of people still connecting to audio, so I'm just gonna pause. Happy New Year. Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's great to have people making time for this so early in the fresh new year. You've obviously joined the CaTS Roadmap Scholar FAQ webinar. And with us today, besides myself, Megan Bronson, one of the administrators for the CaTS, I'm the research navigator. We have one of our directors, Dr. Vivian Fonseca, our second director, Dr. Dan Capusta, and Dr. Casey Lindsley joining us from Pennington. Dr. Capusta is at LSU and Dr. Fonseca is at Tulane, I should have mentioned. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Fonseca, would you like to take it away? Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. We are recording, just to let everybody know.
So welcome everybody. Thank you for calling in today. I'm very pleased to see so many of you, which means many of you are interested in the Roadmap Scholar program, and we'd like to, the more the better for LAK.
Vivian, it's a little hard to hear you.
Is that better?
That's better.
So, you know, if you go to the website, Megan had put out a lot of frequently asked questions with answers there. We can go through those, but maybe we should take some questions from some of you. If anyone has a question, please unmute yourself, go ahead and ask. Another thing you could do is raise your hand. There's a way to raise your hand on there, and if Megan will make sure that we ask you to participate or send her a chat. So while we're waiting for that, maybe we can go through what's in the FAQs. One is, how often do we have this program? It's once a year for LA CaTS, and I would strongly recommend that you visit the LA CaTS website homepage, look at funding and training opportunities that has information about this and other programs. And just to reiterate what is in there, we usually award 3 roadmap scholarships per year, one from each of the major partner institutions, Tulane, Pennington, and LSU. That doesn't mean other institutions cannot participate, but it requires a certain amount of commitment from the other institutions. We are being pretty broad in what we are saying, calling Tulane. We don't draw a distinction, although the major participating institution is the School of Medicine. We encourage applicants from other components of Tulane. We've had somebody from social work apply in the past, a couple of people from School of Public Health, as well as Uptown Campus, so long as you meet the other criteria for what we are trying to do. And I'll come to those in a minute. So look at the instructions for eligibility and other requirements. So what are the eligibility criteria? The most important thing is that this is for faculty at these institutions. So you should have a postgrad degree, your doctorate degree, and be junior faculty at these institutions. Now, people, as I said, people from other institutions are welcome to apply, but there are financial limitations that your institution is going to have to commit to in order to make it possible. That includes, you know, protecting your time, the tuition for the master's program, which we have agreements for waiving for LSU faculty. Tulane faculty get it as part of their faculty tuition waiver. So there are some challenges there, but you know, we can discuss how we can overcome it if you are successful. The important emphasis is on the word be faculty at the start of this program. So we often get people say, I'm interested in becoming faculty. I have a verbal commitment. I think you need to recognize that, yeah, if you have a very strong application and you have a letter saying you will be considered, you're being considered for faculty, we will certainly look at it. But it becomes very challenging for us to give you an award that's meant for faculty if you're not yet on the faculty at the time of actually giving you the award. So I think reviewers will look at that in relation to where you are right now. So very often You have a postdoc who wants to apply, and the chair of the department will say, if you get it, we'll take you on faculty. Well, that's two promises there. Firstly, you've got to get your money, and then they're taking you on, which is what I would much rather see, that they make a firm commitment to you. And there are other things in there about mentorship and things like that that are very, very important, that I think it's much stronger if you're already on faculty. Now, last year we had some applicants who were had very firm commitments. One of our roadmap scholars actually joined the faculty after getting the roadmap, but the offer letter and acceptance had already happened. So that person was a fellow who had been offered a firm commitment for a junior faculty position, and we knew that that was going to happen, and she got it. There was another candidate who we would have considered and got, ranked very close, was also in a similar position. So bear that in mind. That's a very important criterion. So can a roadmap scholar application be submitted through an institution not part of LA CaTS? And the answer there is no, but bear in mind that many institutions have affiliations. It's not just these three. These three have made financial commitments towards the roadmap scholar program. But for example, the VA is a partner, UMC is a partner, Ochsner is a partner. So you can apply through those institutions, but that institution is got to have a very firm commitment on a number of things. So the most important is time. We expect our roadmap scholars to devote 75% of their time, total time, towards the career development involved in the roadmap scholar program. So if you are in, say, private practice, you may not be willing or may not have the ability to have that protected time. There is salary support for that 75% of time, but the salary support has a cap. So Megan, can you remind me what it is? We don't actually put it out because it varies by the institution, but it's usually in the area of like 175% of $120,000, $130,000. Well, if you're somebody really very special earning $1 million a year, your institution might expect you to earn the other 925% of the time, which might be impossible for you. So there are some challenges there. Secondly, you have to have mentors and collaborators for this project. And a lot of the work is done with money that your mentors may have to support their labs, etc. So having that is also another very important consideration when your grant application is being reviewed. And then I mentioned the master's program, which there's an arrangement for Tulane faculty and an arrangement between Tulane and LSU, but others may have to pay tuition. So I've already covered number 6. So who reviews the application? So we have an internal advisory board that reviews the application. They're mainly senior faculty and center directors at these 3 institutions. We go through 2 or 3 rounds of review. The first, just to be fair to people, we don't let your own institutional people review. So if you're applying from your Tulane faculty, your application will be reviewed in the first round by someone from Pennington or LSU, and it may be more than one person. We then sort of rank them and then get your own institution people to review it, the list, and maybe we might change the ranking a little bit based on what internal people say. And then there's a final round where much of the leadership of the master's program and the PD Corps do in-person interviews of the leading candidates. Usually it's the leading 2 or 3 from each institution, and then we take a final decision. When do we inform you of the decision? It's usually about 2 months following the submission deadline. And an email is sent to the applicants. We usually sometimes call them. There's one little peculiar thing this year in that LA CaTS is up for renewal. We don't know. We've submitted our renewal application. We are hoping that we will get it. We think we have a good chance, but there is always a possibility that NIH decides not to fund LA CaTS for the next 5 years, in which case we cannot give out the roadmap awards. So we will not give out these letters and announce the final decision until we are certain that we are going to get funded over the next 5 years.
Dr. Fonseca, a question has come in from the chat.
Yep.
Is a non-US citizen eligible?
So I was going to come to that, but let me address it now since it's been asked. Ideally, you know, what are we training people for? We are training people as roadmap scholars to get on the ladder as translational research scientists, to be ultimately successful as independent investigators. And the pathway we see is that from a roadmap scholar, you move on to getting the next step in this ladder, or if you like, of career progression. So the most logical one is a K award. You could get an R01, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think R01, to get an R01, you got to be a US citizen or a green card holder. And for most Ks, the same rule applies except for a K99. So, and I think maybe a K08. So if you are eligible for one of those Ks that are given to non-citizens and non-green card holders, you can apply for the roadmap, and just point that out. I hope that answers the question. So we have had non-US citizens apply, and we make it very clear to them that we expect them to get a K. They're limiting their choices. I think the reviewers might pay attention to that, and it puts you at a disadvantage. But if you have an outstanding applicant, I don't think we will hold that against you. Will all applicants receive the comments from the reviews? And the answer is yes, but you know, sometimes we can't force reviewers to give you a very long critique. It's what they write in there. We're not going to hold anything back. We'll give it to you. What are the awards start and end dates? So we aim to start July 1, and the funding is for a period of 2 years. The reason for choosing July 1 is that's when the summer semester starts, and we have a couple of courses that it's very important that you start with those. One is just an introduction to clinical research, which I run, and another one is biostatistics, which is critical, as you know. Now, if you've done biostatistics before, it may not matter, and we might even give you credits for that. But if not, we strongly recommend that you do the biostatistics then. So if, say you get informed in May that you're going to get started in July 1, you have maybe even April, you'll have plenty of time to plan for July 1. You'll have time to register for the appropriate courses that you want to take starting in July 1. It will be very difficult for you if you do not start in July to then go on and take the other courses. For example, protocol writing is something we are just starting up in January. It is very hard for you. In fact, it's a pre-requirement for protocol writing that you've done biostatistics and epidemiology. So you have the summer and the fall to do those, and if you can't do it, it becomes challenging. Are appendices allowed as part of the application? Unless stated, they're typically allowed. And you can put in there things like manuscript reprints, support letters, any IRB approvals or questionnaires, etc. We don't count it towards the page limit, and the same applies for references. We don't count references towards the page limit. So let me go further down. We do require biosketch. It should be in the on the NIH template. We would prefer that you use the current relatively new NIH template. Okay, let's go lower down. Okay, so this is about the MSCR, and are these courses available for people who are not supported by LA-CaTS? And the answer is yes. There are people who take this course independent of having a roadmap scholarship as well. The website is on there. Deneen, who couldn't be with us today because she had a medical appointment, can answer your questions about eligibility. We usually welcome anybody who wants to take the master's course. There are two courses. One is, or three actually. The Master's of Science in Clinical Research is a 2-year degree course. There's also a 1-year course, which is a course in research methods. You're not required to do research. The MSCR, you are required to do mentored research, which is part of the requirement of the Roadmap Scholars Program anyway. And we also have a certificate course. So if you say you don't get the roadmap, but you want to learn about research, you're eligible to take some of these courses, and they will count towards your MSCR in future should you decide to do the whole master's degree or become a roadmap scholar in a subsequent year. Before submission, does your application have to be routed and signed off? I think it's not necessary. You can just submit it via careerdevel@lacats.org. You don't have to route it. There's no problem. Do we provide indirect costs? And the answer is no. You only get direct costs. And there's some limitations. First of all, I told you the salary cap, and it's 70. You get 75% of the salary cap to cover your time and protect your time. And there's a small amount of additional money to cover, some of the things that you may need to buy, as well as attend some meetings. There's some travel funds, etc. Megan, what's the amount that is given in addition? Is it 10,000 or so?
There's 10,000 for research funds that primarily go to one's mentor, with the plan that the mentor and the roadmap scholar work together on how to best spend the $10,000. And there is, I believe it's a $4,000 travel allotment, with the hope that $2,500 would be spent on attending the annual ACTS meeting, approximately, and leaving $1,500 to attend a second meeting of one's choice in the year.
So you do have some flexibility there. I want to emphasize ACTS, which is the Association of Clinical and Translational Science, which brings me to an important thing about LA-CaTS, which is it's all about translational science, getting our research findings into patients, into populations. That's what translation is about. But we do have a number of basic scientists who've been very successful at this program, and they've mostly done some clinical work. Whether sometimes it may just be obtaining some samples through collaborators and doing the work in the lab, and that's fine. That is considered a first step in translational anyway. So we're happy with that. There should be some clinical and translational component. There are others who've done pure translational work, and that too is. We'd like to see more of that, but we don't always get applicants who want to go that route.
Dr. Fonseca, I'm sorry to interrupt. There are a couple questions that have come in from the chat.
Go ahead.
One is about mentors. Does one's primary mentor have to be at their current institution or a local partner institution?
It doesn't have to be at your current institution. It could be at a partner institution. You could have mentors elsewhere, even outside Louisiana. However, there's a lot of emphasis on mentorship here. So it's how your reviewers view it. If you have your primary mentor in, say, somewhere far away, Maine or Washington State, and you're not going to see them very much other than on Zoom, I think it may be seen as problematic by a reviewer. That's not my view, but it's up to the reviewers to rank you based on the quality of your proposal and how you will work with your mentor. Also, remember the financial aspect. You're getting only $10,000, which is going to the mentor to put in with and mingle with other funds that the mentor has set aside for your work, and you're fitting in with your. You're very dependent on your mentors, and we are fine with that. We want you to be independent later on in your career, not now. So it's important that you recognize this and choose a mentor accordingly. What's a good mentor? We actually have a full lecture on this as part of our MSCR program, so I don't have time to go through that right now. But I think finding someone who's going to spend time with you, and we will expect that you document your interactions with your mentor group and present to us at semi-annual and annual meetings, so we know that you're actually not just attending class. This program is not just about attending class. It's also about mentor-based research, getting you ready for your K award or K application.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Fonseca. And a second question that came through, specific to the courses in the program you were just discussing. Do Tulane courses have a virtual option, COVID-related or otherwise?
Yeah, they've always been virtual. There's always been a virtual possibility. We've been virtual since COVID started. And it depends on the person. I mean, we are open to, Shreveport is one of our partners. We haven't had anyone from Shreveport apply so far, but we'd like to see applicants. We have someone from Pennington every year, and many of them have chosen to do it remotely. Now we do it via Zoom, but previously we have the equipment to transmit the lectures over there. And there have been people from Pennington who came every week for lectures and said they felt that they were getting more of it that way. So it's really up to you and your mentor if that's what you want to do.
And just to clarify, Dr. Fonseca is specifically speaking of our courses that we oversee, the MSCR courses. And I completely agree with everything you said about they've always been available via virtual and via Zoom. A few of the courses are overseen by the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. And though an online version is often available, if you're unable to register for that for whatever reason, there's a possibility it may be a forced in-person type course. Things are flexible in the time of COVID though, so.
Yeah, there's another aspect to this. We run most of our classes at 4 p.m. or later in the evening. And we recognize that many of the people are busy doing research. Some are clinicians. Many of our lecturers are busy during the day. So we encourage these evening classes. And the School of Public Health runs their classes in the daytime. And that can be a challenge to some people. So we've had people say, why do I have to attend take time out of my work? Well, you've committed 75% of your time, so you arrange the rest of your 25% accordingly. This 25% is being paid for. So I bear in mind, it's only two things. It's biochemistry and epidemiology. There is a hands-on, sorry, not biochemistry, it's biostatistics. Right. There's a hands-on biostatistics lab course, which is fairly short. You will actually learn programming of SAS in the computer lab, and that really is best done in person. Megan, how have we done it this year with COVID? Did people come in person?
No, we've been still continuing to hold all of our courses virtually, so Zoom only for. Yes.
We were going to open up in person in January. I've been fighting to get a new classroom all set up, but it looks like Omicron is taking it away.
Right. Well.
Let me add one other thing. Some people say, well, what is $10,000 to do research? You know, you're spending so much time, and how are you going to do it in that? Firstly, it's up to your mentor to provide additional support. Secondly, you can apply for other LA CaTS grants. And they have actually been looked at in the last couple of years fairly well. Some people have got LA CaTS pilots, so that's another $25,000 to $50,000. That helps you get your research done. But I cannot promise you that. If you have to apply along with your mentor. I think you stand an advantage if you say, well, I'm a roadmap scholar. I mean, we expect you as a roadmap scholar, you are the, if I may say it, this is the flagship of what we want to do for LACATS. Yes, we have clinical trials units and we have collaborative programs, but you are the future. We want to say that the major success, our main aim of LACATS is to increase the research workforce in Louisiana. So what could be better than training junior faculty to become independent?
Excellent, good point. And thank you for your questions. Feel free to keep sending those in as needed. Let's, I'll scroll through and we'll look at a few more questions.
So, yeah, do all mentors need to complete a separate mentorship agreement form? And the answer to this is yes. We are taking a fairly strong view about mentorship. You know, we don't want you to have a fancy mentor who's never going to talk to you. And you don't want that. So the agreement says you're going to meet with this person perhaps once a month, meet regularly, have meetings, and document the meetings. We will ask you to, you know, we'll give you examples of how you should document this and present it. And we expect your mentors to attend at least an annual meeting, unless there's a problem. What problems come up? Well, sometimes roadmap scholars have said, well, my mentor is not available much. I'm not making progress in my research. And I think that's a red flag that Megan will pass on to us. We will discuss it in our leadership group and very often arrange for a meeting with the mentor. Megan, a question came through in the chat. Where do they get those forms from? You're on mute.
Available. I was just about to put it in the chat. It's available on the website as part of the application documents. And so it should be all listed there.
Okay, would the medical school choose some candidates to apply? Anybody can apply. However, I don't think it would look good if you applied without the blessings of your department chair, at least, if not the dean of your school, because you're going to have to commit 75% of your time to this program. So, and the chair needs to say that they will protect your time in a cover letter. So, which they can't back away from once you've got it. So, you know, it becomes very challenging if you say, well, you know, I have so many clinical responsibilities. Well, if you can't negotiate that with your department chair up front, it's probably not a good idea to apply. Is there a limit to the number of mentors who can be listed? Well, it's a logistic thing. I think you can't, having 10 mentors is not going to be productive. If you have 2 who are really very active in the field and are going to already working with you and commit that they're going to spend time with you, that might be good enough. They're not, as I said earlier, they're not required to be within the state. Josh Denson, one of our current roadmap scholars, had not the primary mentor, but had a mentor very linked with what he was doing at his prior institution in Colorado. And that's fine. I think people thought that was very good. So typically we have 2 or 3 mentors listed. Okay, are there restrictions on the number of years an investigator has been a faculty member? There are no restrictions, but bear in mind there are restrictions on various K awards. And our expectation is that you will submit a K award by the end of this 2-year program or very soon thereafter. So if you become ineligible for a K 1.5 years from now, that will not be looked on favorably. You could say you're applying for an R. That's fine. So we have a question here. I'm currently a senior postdoc at LSU in Dr. X's lab. I'm wondering whether I would be eligible. I'm being considered for a faculty position by the time the award would begin. If so, what information would I need to provide with the application? If you're being considered for a faculty position, it needs to be very clearly stated in the letter from the chair that you are going to be hired by July 1. And we've had people in the past who've had offer letters, but then didn't accept the offer, and that created problems. We've had people who say, the letter sometimes says, if you give this person the scholarship award, we will give that person a faculty. I think that's not the way we would like to see it, but if there is agreement that you're going to be on the faculty and you are interested in the faculty position, we might consider it. The RFA states the applicant letters need to be mentors from the mentors, the department chair, and the dean. My mentor is also the chair. I think that's fine. One letter will suffice. That mentor and chair don't need to write separate letters. There was a question about the font. Can it be in 10-point font? You know, just be conscious that Dr. Kapusta and I need reading glasses. The smaller the font, the more challenging it is for us to read. And, you know, so we'll allow the 10-point font in the tables, but the text should be 11. Okay, I'm a research assistant professor now working in Department of Neurosurgery. I want to know if I'm eligible. I hold a J1. I think we've talked about it. It's not clear to me. A K99 does not have a green card requirement. So yes, the answer is you would be eligible if you are going to commit to applying for a K99 within 2 years. I don't know how long the eligibility is open for the person and how long you've been out there. If you become a US citizen before the 2 years are up, and you might be then eligible for any K. Okay, 3-page limit. Encourages 1-page specific aims, 2 pages for the significance, innovation, and research approach. We don't count the references. Yeah, this is more or less the same thing, so we'll skip over this one. Are there any more? Okay, anyone who wants to ask a question, unmute yourself and fire away.
There's a question in the chat, Dr. Fonseca?
Yeah, I see it. Clinical faculty or basic science faculty. Does the program have a preference? The answer is no, provided that you can, you know, basic science faculty show that they are interested in clinical translational research. You've got a translational component. I don't mean translation from, you know, from cell culture to a small mouse. We do want to see some clinical translation. Now, if your research proposal is so earth-shattering and you really impress the reviewers, you get a high review score, we will look at anything. But I think in general, we are advising reviewers as well that this is about LA CaTS, which is a clinical and translational research.
That's an important point. We've had investigators, you know, with the Roadmap Scholar program that are, you know, basic science researchers, PhDs in particular, but the emphasis is to have them use human tissue. Some of them clearly are definitely working much more with clinicians and have them as advisors and mentors and are getting
collaborators and collaborators. So, yes, you know, one of our former last year's Roadmap Scholar who graduated last year from Pennington is a PhD who does no patient care and is doing some imaging studies in patients. And he reached out to me, and I am recruiting patients to go and have their imaging done by him. And that has worked well. So we would encourage that. And in fact, LA CaTS encourages good collaboration across the institutions. So leverage the strength of LA CaTS. You can recruit patients from any institution. The VA generally doesn't encourage recruitment of veterans for studies outside the VA, except if it's an NIH study, which discounts it. So we have VA patients participating in some of our Roadmap Scholars programs.
I think another difference is that COBRAs tend to be very, much animal research and along those lines. So if you are considering pure animal research, that's the direction that maybe you want to go. Whereas the LA CaTS and our program here is definitely translational with human tissue and our clinical trials.
And you could have some basic research as well, provided you have at least one aim that's translational. And as I said, that could come from a collaboration with somebody in your field who get a letter saying that they will recruit patients and tissues or whatever you want for you, and that you will do the assays in your lab along with your basic science mentor.
My apologies. Someone came to our front door of our office suite. Did you have a question for me?
No, I think we've so far taken all the questions that were in the FAQ list and one or two others that were asked. Anyone else have another question? If not, I'm going to have to drop off and go to another meeting, but Dr. Kapusta is going to be here and Megan is going to be here. Reach out to Megan, and if you want to reach out to me at any time, you have a question, send me an email and we'd be happy to help. We look forward to receiving your application.
I agree. Thanks so much, Dr. Fonseca. Yeah,
So,
other questions?
Yeah, Megan, maybe you can just briefly go over the concept about what courses are, required to take, and then the electives, and the possibility that maybe somebody's already had a course and maybe, it transfers in so that they don't have to retake it.
Sure. We have a variety of courses that are part of the MSCR. We cover the basics of how to get started in and doing translational research, clinical research. Like Dr. Fonseca mentioned, our semesters start in the summer, and we ask you to participate in all 6 semesters that you're part of the Roadmap Scholar program over the 2 years. We mentioned the epidemiology and the biostats courses. There's a health policy and administration, I know I'm saying that wrong, unfortunately, course as well, also managed by the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. We have a topics in clinical research and a responsible conduct of research course. We also administer journal club sessions, and you are asked to participate in 4 of those courses over the time, your 6 semesters in the program. Journal club, if most likely you're familiar with it, each presenter finds an article and describes it to the rest of the course, the rest of the class, and then questions are welcomed from the audience. Our course director for that course is based in Pennington, so that most likely will remain a fully Zoom course. I don't believe Dr. Latorre is enjoying the commute any longer. So additionally, you will receive credit for our mentored research course, which is the research that you're doing with your mentors and the project that you propose as part of your Roadmap Scholar research proposal. We just want you to receive course credit for it along the way. In the spring, I guess in the fall, we have the molecular medicine course as well, which is another type of survey course. And in the spring, we have protocol writing and cultural competence courses. And those are the ones managed by us, the MSCR degree program, the ADCR department. If anyone is interested, Dr. Kapusta, all of a sudden I blanked on your other question. Transferring credits in. If you previously have taken an epidemiology course or a biostats course, within, I'd say, the last 10 years, I believe is our window, we do allow you to transfer the credit in. If it's outside that window, we might have to have a longer conversation about what we can do to help accommodate that. Some scholars have come in with a Master's of Public Health degree already, and so have been able to transfer credits in and taken had that other time available to them. Additionally, we do ask you to take an elective course. Ideally, it's something specific to you and your career path and your research goals. So it can be anything in the Tulane catalog. And if the Tulane catalog doesn't have it and the LSU catalog does, maybe we can find a way to have you take that course and have it count towards it. That has happened in the past. So it's something I can make recommendations as needed once you join the program, but ideally it's something that helps broaden your skill set and that you're very personally interested in. So it's anything and everything. So, all right, did I cover all the things, Dr. Kapusta?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Sure.
And I guess maybe just one point too is and if you are really submitting an application, pay attention and take time in writing your research training plan.
Right.
That's very important. Okay, we're going to look at that very closely. The reviewers will very closely look at that. And in the end, think about where this program is going to take you in your career development. And what are you going to gain, not only from your mentor, but also from the research and the type of research that you're doing, whether it's transitioning from never done research or whether it's animal research going to clinical translational, right? And so it's just helping us outline how you are going to make these steps. So that training plan, again, if you have any questions about it, I'm over at LSU, so the LSU gang, all the faculty can contact me and I'll be glad to help, but it's people at Tulane and Pennington as well, and vice versa. We all help each other out. This is all one big program. It's just shared among these major institutions. So if you have questions specifically about specific aims, you're developing that. I mean, I can talk to you a little bit about it, but Megan, I don't know that we really go into detail about that because that's more what you're trying to present to us, right? But if you have any questions, even regarding the specific aims, I can lightly touch on that part, but it's more formatting and what's the purpose of the program and where it's going to get you in your career. We're glad to help you in any way with that.
I agree. And I've put both our email addresses in the chat. If you need to find us, and then we can certainly.
And Megan Bronson, I'm sorry, Leanne Redman is over. She's also co-director over at Pennington, but she's not here with us today. Right. You'll find a list, I think, of those courses on the website, right? I think you can go into the MSRC and that's where you'll find that. But if you want, you can also just go to the LA CATS website and look and see what some of the other people have done, right? The other scholars, they're listed and they're available, and you can read a little bit more about the professional development core, but also particularly about the Roadmap Scholars program. Any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah, applications are due February 1st. We very much look forward to receiving them. If you have questions between now and then, feel free to reach out.
Definitely.
Oh, and the recording of today's session will be available publicly. We just need to process it and put it up on the YouTube channel. And once I have a link for it, I will use the same announcement email technique that we used to tell you about this event to tell you that the recording is also available. So watch your email listservs sections to find the link to the recording.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.